Hey, HCDA, and today we're playing some more Oxygen Not Included because I'm completely addicted to this game. Now, in the previous episode I started my new game and I think we have most of the basics covered. So we have about 20 of these mealwood plants. That is going to be enough to feed my 4 population for the moment. And let's see, what else do we have going? Well, we have some basic toilets, we have some... Basically we have all the core needs met. We also have a skill point apparently, so our farmer can, actually learn some farming. There we go. Now, the real thing I'm going to aim for now is getting the advanced research up and running, because that's where things start to get really interesting. However, in the meanwhile, I think I can start deconstructing a couple of these things over here. We don't need these batteries. Well, we do need batteries, we just don't need these batteries. And I'm also going to do this. I'm going to make my oxygen production look a little bit more pretty, because right now it's just standing there in the middle of nowhere. And I think if I just build it in my central shaft, it's going to make it easier to actually spread around my base. I'm also gonna make sure I make my way towards decontamination so we can pick up the carbon skinner, and I also need the water sieve up and running, so we'll probably also pick up filtration and hopefully distillation after that. Now let's see. We are making some progress in making the base look decent, so there we go. I am just gonna set the priority on these building requests a little higher so Pei actually focuses on that. There's a lot of stuff to do around my base and I only have 4 workers, so, things take a moment to get done. Let's make sure we have those up and running. And then we probably need to connect them to the power, so... Do I need 2? I probably don't need 2, do I? There we go, there we go. And that should take care of that. Remind me, 5... No, that's the input, 500. So yeah, I have more than enough for 4 at the moment. We'll only need the second one once we get more than 5 of these little dudes. But for now, this will do. And of course, I'm making sure I'm setting the priority a little bit higher so things actually get built. In the meanwhile, to make sure my base keeps looking nice and tidy, I'm gonna dig out some more stuff, and I'm gonna do that all the way until here. Why here? Well, if I have all of this, this is 96 tiles, which is the size of a lot of rooms. There is also slime in here, hold on. So I might want to... This is slime, right? And slime did what again? Was there anything like... yeah, there's germs coming off slime, so we probably don't want to get too involved in that just yet. In that case, well, if we break this open, the slime is going to come out that way. I like my germ-free base, so I'm going to see if I can keep it like that for a little while longer. That also means I should not do this. Long story short, I can't really dig that much altogether. Well, that's okay, that's okay. We can actually make our little bathtub over here a little larger. This is actually going to be the wall, right? Hold on. I forgot how a message is. No, so that is going to be the wall. So we can actually dig this out. Hold on. There we go. That doesn't work. Okay, like so then. Yep. And then just to make sure I actually know what I'm doing, let's build a wall like that. This is probably not going to be a wall. We need doors in here because at some point I will want to expand. There we go. That also means I should probably keep an area open in here as well. Something like that. Hold on. Math. Yeah, I did that right. Okay, so that means that this is actually going to be a wall, right? I mean, how can I be so bad at this? Final check. 96, 96. Yeah, okay, so this makes sense. Okay, so that is where the water is gonna go. Now, I also need a bucket for my polluted water, I think. But before we do that, let's make sure we get the actual water that we want, where we want it. So I am going to do this, I think. And then we're going to do some pipe. We'll also have a liquid vent. Doesn't matter. Can the water like flow upwards? I guess we're about to find out. And what I mean by flowing upwards is I'm gonna pump it from here into here. There we go. And hopefully that works well enough that it can actually push the water up, because, you know, pumping water underwater is actually more difficult than just letting it fall in. But we're about to find that out. Now, this does need to get powered, so we are going to extend this all the way down, and then to here. And that also means I can deconstruct this tile over here, so the water can just flow under. And that should hopefully drain most of this water. At some point, actually, let's break up both of those. And then, no, I don't want to build. I want to fill this in. We'll slowly start filling in these gaps so that the water actually flows all the way to that corner at some point. Yikes, I almost uprooted my plant over here, and I did actually uproot this one, so let's plant that one again. Let's make that a high priority, yeah, I was about to say, because we need this in order for my room to actually qualify as a room. But yeah. Anyway, while we're doing all of this, I also want to start getting it a little bit more organized. Now, where are my storage bins? They are over here. I am going to make a storage bin like this, and it needs to be built first. Basically, what I want to do is make low priority storage bins, where if there's ever a moment where one of my dupes is like, I don't know what to do, well, then you can go and make sure you clean up the place. Now, I need to double check my power, because it feels I might not have connected this. There we go. Well, actually, we don't need to connect that, because we are deconstructing that one. But we have no way of storing power at the moment, so let's make sure we add the jumbo battery in there. And some wire, of course, to make sure that is actually working. And I can't do research if that's not powered up. So yeah, this should be a lot more efficient. Actually, slight change of plans. I'm gonna move this, well, I'm gonna keep this liquid pump, but I'm gonna make a secondary one over here. And the reason for that is that I want to close this off so I can start digging down here, but I can't do that if there's water flowing in. So yeah, lesson learned there. Make sure you plan ahead even further. But yeah, let's see. Let's make sure we do this like so it can connect up. And we should see the water flowing out here once this gets started. Now, why is the pipe blocked? I don't know. Oh, that's because there's no liquid vent yet. So let's make sure we prioritize that. And then we can get going. Oh, and the storage bin is up and running, so I'm going to select it to all standard stuff, and I'm also going to make sure it's at a low priority. So this is just going to be at priority 4, which is the lowest one we have at the moment, which means this should only get filled up when someone has nothing to do at all. Well, that answers that question. We can't actually pump out the liquid when it's already in the water because of the pressure. Well, that's okay. We're just going to do it this way then. I am going to put that there, and then we're going to put in some more piping to go all the way up. And we'll need a ladder to actually get there for a moment. But yeah, that should be just fine. I'm actually not sure if the water can fall on like a ladder like this, so we're going to take that out as well. Also means we can take out this particular vent. Yeah, that should work fine like this. Alright, there we go. We are now pumping in the water in this basin over here, so that's really nice. Actually, I don't want to do this with two places at the same time, so I am going to deconstruct this little tile over here. There we go. Now let's make sure we set that as a high priority. Just so we pump down this first, and then once that is done, we can remove this pump so we don't draw too much power. But on top of that, we can start digging down, which should make it a lot easier to deal with all of this CO2. Speaking of which, we are progressing into the air systems and stuff like that as well, so that's nice. I do need to set up a new station for my supercomputer. There we go. Now this needs water, but it doesn't actually have a water connection, I don't think. So yeah, we'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way. Let's also make sure we queue that up. Yeah, a lot of these buildings are not getting completed, but that's just because there's more important stuff to do, so that's fine. I do think it is time to bring on a 5th person if we can. Increased science as... Whoa, that's a lot of increased science, as well as germ resistance, which is kind of cool. Um, Immune to food poisoning, decreased strength. But you also have... Huh. You already have the hard digging skill. Honestly, I don't mind another digger. So, Liam, you are going to be another digger. Maybe digger slash cleaner or something like that. But yeah, I think that will be fine. That does mean we are going to need another bed. Just to make sure we can handle him. I don't think we need anything else. We do need a little bit more food production at some point as well. But for the moment, we are still working our way through actually setting this up. As you can see, we are still lacking a couple of seeds. But all the other seeds got constructed either by finding them somewhere in here or simply by these plants reproducing themselves. So, yeah, that's all working like intended. This is taking on some shape. Okay, this is not getting filled, but that's okay because we are building about 20,000 things at the same time. So let's make sure we know what to prioritize. We also want this second battery up and running. Yeah, and then it's just a matter of waiting until we get some more technology going while we're clearing this out. Okay then, so the first pump is done, which means we can use the same liquid piping to do this. And we can also deconstruct this one over here. Also means we can start deconstructing these things over here, and we can actually start digging down, which honestly is coming at a very good time, because if I look at my CO2, it's starting to get a bit problematic. We are about to unlock the carbon skimmer though, so that is not going to be a problem for too much longer. But in order to handle it, I will first need to make sure I have a new room. Now, I'm probably going to dig quite a way down. Probably leaving that for the moment. Something like that. And I'll have to measure out exactly where I'm gonna make my pit. Ooh, what's this then? A sweetle. What do? You eat sulfur, okay. And you poop out sucrose. Ah, interesting. Yeah, we might make a nice little CO2 pit over here, to be honest. Yeah, is that what we're going to do? Yeah, why not? Oh, I completely forgot to actually set Liam's priorities, so let's make sure he's a digger and a supplier, and I'm also going to do the same thing with Otto. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because it makes sense in my mind, at least, to pair up digging and the carrying capacity. I think all of them kind of want to have carrying capacity at some point. But if I prioritize at least for a couple of them, they are going to basically run around my base and do that whenever there's no digging to do, which is honestly a lot of the time unless I'm expanding. So, makes sense to have a couple of dedicated supply runners throughout my base. Now, I also mapped out what I'm going to be digging out. Now, most of this is actually not queued up because there's a little bit of a gap between where it can go. Oh, actually, honestly, until we get here. What I mainly want to prioritize, though, is the digging down all the way here and then down here, because this is where my CO2 farm is going to be. Okay, so I was wondering why my resource was going so slow, but that's mostly explained by this pump as well as this diffuser almost using as much energy as I'm producing over here. So I'm gonna need a second one of these hamster wheels. And yeah, I guess we're just gonna put it down there. At some point we want to organize the science facility over here slash power production. But for the moment, I think this will do. Now, by the way, I also got my builder pay some more carrying capacity skills. And then I realized I might as well also have her supply a little bit, as well as storing, I guess. She's still going to prioritize building over everything else, but, some more supply and demand things happening at the same time. Now, meanwhile, I'm making pretty good progress down here. Now, the interesting thing is there's actually a lot of oxygen stored down here as well, because of all of these oxygen stones. What are they called? Oxalites, producing some more oxygen. So we have that going, and the carbon skimmer is almost up and running in terms of research. And while I'm waiting for my research to complete, I started to dig out a secondary little, puddle area over here. I'm gonna use this to store my polluted water. There's already a lot of polluted water in this general area, so that makes it easier to kind of just drop it down in here. And maybe we can even put some fish in there. We'll see what we're going to do with that. It's just some to give my diggers something to do. Meanwhile, we're making some decent progress on getting the water out. Look at all of this clean water sitting in here. So nice. I also dug this down a little bit too far, apparently, so now I'm going to make sure that I build in the floor, and once the carbon skimmer is up and running, we can start working on, doing something about all of this carbon. Although, honestly, it's not looking all that bad at the moment. It helps if you dig out some room and give the base literally a way to breathe. Oh wait, hold on, we have someone who is currently entombed. We don't want that, so let's make sure we deconstruct this. Let's make a... Hello? I can't deconstruct this? What's going on with that? Oh, wait, I have a tool selected. There we go. There we go. And make this priority number 9. Hello, guys. Can I put it even higher priority? Top priority. There we go. Let's make sure we get her out. There we go. Okay. Look, I didn't kill anyone yet. I can also select some more duplicants to bring into my base, and I do think I want to add in Lyra over here, because she has some ranching ability to come along with her. She's also germ resistant, that's always nice. She is a binge eater in case she becomes stressed, but, let's just not have her stressed, I suppose. But yeah, this is going to be my rancher. Now, I don't think I have everything unlocked yet to do that, so we're going to have to work on that at some point. But for the moment, let's just build another cod, and let's also double check the schedule. So then we can probably move her to schedule 2. So there's 3 of them over here and 3 of them over here. And the tables over here seem to be public tables, so that works just fine. We can't actually have public beds, apparently, so that's a thing. But should work, I think. Now, let's see. We want you to focus on ranching above everything else. But other than that, I'm just going to give her equal priority to do basically whatever other task might need doing in my base. For example, I have a lot of people running for power over here because of the relatively high power supply. And it's going to be even higher in a minute once we get access to the carbon dioxide skimmer over there. That also means I do want to start focusing a little bit on automating power, and what I've been told is that in order to do that more efficiently, let's see, where is it? We're gonna need smart batteries. I don't know where you are in the technology tree. I'll have to look them up. I'm probably not seeing them at the moment. I suppose it's under power? That would make sense. Yeah, there we go. So we're gonna pick up this next once we get the water sieve unlocked, because the water sieve is also going to allow me to automate a lot of my water production. I have a little bit of an issue here, because Steve, my researcher, is continuously trying to make power. So I am going to go to your priority, Steve, and I'm gonna actually disallow you to operate any machinery. Yeah, there we go. That way someone else will take over the power generation, and hopefully we can actually do some research. Alrighty, so we have the water sieve research done as well, and that means we can start to set up a nice little combination, just like we've done before. So let's see, we have a carbon skimmer over there. No, actually, hold on. I think we might want to move that a little bit to the side so we leave some access for a door. So, oh, wrong one, that one. Okay. We're also going to do some refinement, I think. Water sieve, yeah. And that is going to be like that. Let's just put that right next to it. And then, like before, we can connect this one up to that one. And then that one up to that one. And that should work just fine as long as we kickstart it. And I already prepared the pipeline in order to do that. We also, of course, need to make sure everything is powered. There we go. And once everything here gets built, we should be able to start doing something a little bit about this carbon dioxide. There's some stock in here as well, but this water level should be rising soon once we get this stuff in here as well. And honestly, it's not a bad thing. Well, it's not a problem, I should say, to have the carbon dioxide in here for a little bit. It's going to be just fine. It does feel like I'm not getting enough power, and that's probably because I didn't prioritize the operating enough. So I've now set a couple of my guys, especially the diggers and builders and ranchers, that don't really need to be highly prioritizing their main job, to also focus a little bit on, you know, actual generating some power for my base. And look at that, that's working like intended. It's always nice to see a plan coming together. That also means that since I now have this carbon skimmer here, why are you not doing anything? Is that just because there's no carbon? Yeah, okay. Now I have this up and running, I can delete these guys over here. And that also means that... Hello? Deconstruct? Yeah, I'm actually going to take that out as well. Probably... No, not putting in a floor just yet. I'm thinking of maybe setting up a power facility over here. My smart batteries are about to be researched. So yeah, once we have all of those basics set up, let's start automating our power slightly better than what we're doing right now. I also really want these fire poles up and running, because that's just going to make the efficiency of my base way higher than it currently is. I also have another package coming in, and considering I'm thinking about starting a ranch really soon, might as well get some eggs to go along with that. So let's print some hedge eggs. And we already have 2 of them over here. I don't think we found any others so far in the base at all. Not sure how rare it is, considering how much I've already dug out, but there's plenty of other critters all over the place. These guys are really creepy though. There's a... Oh, this one is so cute. Look at that. Yeah, we'll have to deal with all of that at some point. It also feels like, even though I'm only 19 cycles in, I'm already way ahead of my previous gameplay. Although we haven't automated our bathroom just yet, but in order to do that, I do need a little bit more power, because these pumps are really power hungry, to be honest. Yeah, but we're doing pretty good so far, I think. Oh, right. In order to make a smart battery, I need some refined metal, which is a good thing then that I'm currently researching the brute force refinement, so I can build a rock crusher that can actually make some of that refined material for me. Okay, so while I'm in the process of researching that rock crusher, let me do some math. I want to upgrade the whole bathroom situation over here, and in order to do that, we're going to need some of those lavatories. Now, let me double check these things. Where are they? These are going to produce 11.7 kilograms per use of polluted water. Honestly, that's not that much. And by not that much, what I'm referring to is I want to use some of that water to kind of recycle the whole system over here. We want them to wash their hands. So we need a water sieve in order to, well, turn the polluted water back into normal water and actually produce a little bit of water while we're doing that. However, what I'm thinking is I already have a water sieve over here that is pretty much just doing nothing most of the time. So what if we also hook up that water system to the bathroom? Because that's also going to be doing nothing most of the time. And that way I can save me some power on the water sieve. Actually, that's stupid, right? Because if it's not working, it's not doing anything. Yeah, that might not have been my smartest idea. Okay, well, the science is done. We are going to go into a little bit of ranching. Let's just go all the way down here. I'm not sure what this... Is this particularly useful? Well, yeah, we need incubators. Let's go for that. Yeah, so let me know in the comments. Does it make sense to make double use out of this water sieve for my bathroom situation or not? I don't think so, honestly. Mostly because that actually makes it more complicated, so it's more likely to fail. Like right now, this is a completely closed system, so it cannot fail. Yeah, so I don't think that makes sense. So I definitely should not be doing that. Oh, well, it was an nice idea. But anyway, let's put up a rock crusher over here. Let's make sure it is powered so we can get that up and running as well. And then while we're at it, I think what I want to do is the following. I am going to copy some doors. I can't. I need to deconstruct this first. Okay. Let's deconstruct that. And then let's see. How large is a water sieve? How much space do we need for that? Last time around, I actually built it inside the basin over here, which was a mistake, because that turned it into no longer a room. So let's see. In order to count as a washroom or a latrine, that is what I meant. It needs a toilet, it needs a wash station, but there cannot be industrial machinery in there. While, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check, the water sieve, let's see, yeah, it's in the category industrial machinery. So yeah, you don't want it to be over there. However, it can be over there. So what we can do is do something like this. Let's make a tiny little room. Let's just clear this out as well, just because we can. And then that should be the nice basis for our water situation over here. Okay, so the rock crusher is ready. What are we going to do? We are going to make some copper, I guess. How much do we need? I actually don't know. How much do we need for a battery? 200 kilograms, so let's make at least that. This is going to make 200 by itself, so I don't know. Probably a little bit more than that. How are we doing on copper, by the way? I should probably keep track of that a bit as well. Oh, we have like 11 tons of that, so we don't need to be cheap. Okay. Anyway, that will start being worked on. We should probably make sure this has a slightly higher priority as well. Not sure I need to super prioritize this research that much, but honestly, as soon as this is out of stuff to research, or I'm not prioritizing that anymore, it's going to deprioritize itself anyway, so I think that's fine. We definitely need to up the priority a little bit over here, because otherwise we can't actually, well, do anything with that. And we need to make sure we put back in those rooms, or those doors, because if I'm not mistaken, yeah, right now this is no longer qualifying as a latrine, which means I'm not getting the morale bonus anymore. Alrighty, we have the doors up and running again. Let me double check the rooms. Yep, it is back to a latrine, and that also means I can now start deleting some of these buildings. I'm just gonna delete one of each first, make sure that that is in place. We can set up kind of the infrastructure, and then we can replace the other 4 buildings as well. Okay, those are 2 buildings down. Now let's see. We need a lavatory over there, and then we are going to need a wash basin, which for some reason is not in the same menu. Over there. That just should take care of things. Now let's see if I remember how to do this plumbing. We need the clean water to go out. And then go in here. As well as in here, and then we have the evil water coming out. Yeah, we might as well do it like this. I mean, we don't really need to do it like this, but this is clean, right? We can even walk it through the walls over here. No, we can't, because they won't be able to reach here, which is actually also a problem here. I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be. But I'm gonna go for a clean build, and I kind of like how this looks. So yeah, I am definitely going to deconstruct this wall, just because of that reason. And then dig out this section over here. Just so I can actually reach this place. You know, doesn't make sense, not really, but I don't care. I'm gonna do it anyway. We might actually find a use for this tiny little room over here. Okie dokie, there we go. We now have most of this set up. Why didn't you just actually finish the job, guys? I don't know. I also don't know why doors have a priority. I hadn't actually noticed that before. I think we can safely set this to a normal priority again. And you can probably go down to 7-ish as well. There we go. Okay, so we should be finishing that up really soon. I do need to put in some doors as well, because now this is no longer qualifying as a room, and we definitely want to do that. That's a pretty nice bonus we get there. So, let's see. Plumbing. This should do the trick, right? Well, mostly. We still need to attach that as well. And once that is done, we need to seed it with some water, which can come from over here, since we're pumping that up anyway. So let's do that like so. This is going to be a temporary line, but I do want to make sure we start it at the right end. Well, actually, then it should start over there. So let's cancel that one. And then connect that up. And once this is all connected up, we will have a functioning lavatory system, and then we can remove the other 4 buildings and replace them with the equivalents that we have over here. Okay, that's interesting. For some reason, my duplicants decided, well, we don't want to clean the toilets anymore, which I can blame them for. But yeah, our little builder over here made a mess. So we're gonna have to mop that up. And we're gonna make that a fairly high, well, a very high priority actually, because that's germs. And so far we haven't really had any germs in my base. But now we do. And I kind of want to keep it the way we had. So yeah, come on guys, go clean stuff up. Yeah, speaking about germs, they all had an accident pretty much. So for some reason, it took way too long to clean out these outhouses. But at least now we have that sorted. So I made that a top priority and, you know, they actually did it this time around. But that's another reason why we kind of don't want this to be manual anymore. So that's kind of takes care of itself and we never have this happen again. Okay, anyway. Let me see, do I have it up and running now, actually? Yeah, we have some water incoming, by the looks of it. That should mean the water goes into here, and then we can start deleting the other stuff, and we shouldn't, hopefully, have this problem ever again. And there we go, we've also cleaned up some of the mess at least. So 1, 2 of those, and then 1, 2 of those, and then we still need to copy some plumbing, but we can all just connect this up like so. That should work just fine, I believe. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it like this. This is not necessarily the most elegant way to do it, but I kind of like the industrial look of it. You know, this is serious business that we're doing in here, so that works. That was actually also working as well, so that means I can probably, because all of that has already been filled up, I can probably just delete this pipeline at this point. Because we no longer need it, as this will now be a self-sufficient system. Now, what we still need to work on in a moment is the fact that this is going to produce slightly more water than it needs. But, I'm actually thinking how best to do that. Yeah, I have some ideas about that. Okay, so how about this? We have a bridge over here, a liquid bridge, that will act as a priority lane. And then if I understood all of your comments correctly on one of the previous videos, that should then allow the water to bypass as soon as this is completely filled up. And then we can just run it through the ground over here into the system that we are currently in the process of reutilizing, basically. Right now it's going to go up and now it's going to go down. Where did that water just come from? I mean, it's clean water. Oh, that was in the pipe. Never mind. That's silly me. We're gonna have to clean that up, though. But, yeah, look at all the accidents down here as well. Okay, while we're working on all of that, I'm also going to, I think, accept a new guy, maybe? What's the alternatives? We can get an oxyfern seed. I have no idea what that is. Sounds interesting. I don't want Mima, I don't think. I mean, these skills are okay, but I don't want additional consumption of air. This guy, on the other hand, has a bit of a random skill set. We don't really need this person at the moment, so I'm just gonna take the oxyfern seed, just check it out. Let's see. Yeah, okay, it's an oxyfern plant. I could have just looked it up, I guess, but you know. It absorbs carbon dioxide gas and exudes breathable oxygen. That's kind of what it sounded like. So what does it need? It needs to be in carbon dioxide. At a pretty normal... yeah, okay. It does take quite a bit of dirt. 4 kilograms per cycle. Sounds like... Oh, and a lot of water, actually. It produces a lot of oxygen. And it doesn't cost any electricity by doing that. Okay, well, it's a nice option to have. Not entirely sure yet what we want to do. As long as we're not having any oxygen problems in any other way, I don't see necessarily... Well, we could run out of algae, I suppose. I mean, we're quite far away from that as it is, and we have plenty more that we could just grab. But there is going to be a point where we need to have another oxygen solution than what we are currently using. I need my builders to wake up, please. Especially you, Pei. You are... You're sleeping on the job. Well, actually, no. You're sleeping on your sleeping part, but... yeah. Our little water situation over here is actually slightly in need of readjustment, which was planned. But I'm gonna move this pitcher pump up in a bit, so it's a little closer to where all the water needs to go anyway, and people don't have to get themselves wet in order to get it. And that also makes it easier to move across here, and we can start digging out this area over here for the polluted water, because we are gathering quite a bit of that across the base now, and I want to get rid of that. So let's see how our plumbing is doing. Well, apparently we still have a Okay, so apparently, hold on, let me go to the plumbing overview. Apparently this line decided to have the water go in that direction. I'm not entirely sure why it's not just pushing the water down. This water should be pushing there, right? However, it also seems that there's this tile over here that is still built. We have the bridge, but we also still have the normal water. I'm not entirely sure how that works. So if you delete that, does that solve the problem? I guess not. Maybe if we do it like this. Come back, Bay. Where'd you go? Not sure where you're going. Oh, you're picking up some dirt. And bringing it somewhere else. Okay, so let's see. Are you going to deconstruct that? Yes. Okay, and now the water is flowing in the correct direction again. That is great. Now if we hook this up, and let's just give it a high priority just to speed things up a little bit. Is that gonna solve my issue? I like how you're delivering stuff, but you're not building it. I mean, that's kind of by design, I guess, but it's also sort of inefficient. So why is this not working? Input, output, yes. It's in that direction, yes. So why is this not connected up? Huh. Maybe I need... Well, actually, I just plumped that thing down. Maybe I need to actually rebuild some of this stuff. Hold on. Let me just redo this and see if it then works. Okay, there we go. The water is flowing into that. Huh. But it's not actually flowing down here, so this isn't working like I was expecting it to work. Okay, well, it only took me several cycles to fix, but apparently I needed some more direction in my pipes for some reason. I don't know. But as you can see now, at least the overflow is actually going out, so we shouldn't have any more issues with this pipeline getting stuck. Okay, well, in the meanwhile, my pump over here is done, so I can take that one out. And yeah, then I kind of need to start redesigning this so it makes more sense. And while I was doing that, I was like, maybe I should add another builder to the mix. And I'm not even kidding. Building impaired, and building impaired. That's my options. So apparently the game is telling me you definitely do not want someone who builds stuff, and you definitely do want, apparently, someone who loves animals. Now, I am thinking maybe... I don't want a vomiter in my team, honestly, although the plus 11 agriculture in combination with husbandry doesn't... I am leaning towards just picking up Frankie over here and making him a farmer slash generalist. I don't have that much farming to do, but I am getting most of my food out of farming. So yeah, I do want someone else in my team. And well, ideally I would have liked him to be, you know, someone who is a little bit better at pretty much anything, to be honest. Do I still spec you for farming? Or do I just, I don't know, maybe give you some carrying capability? Yeah, I'm gonna go for that. And the ranger can actually do the ranging. Do I have a farmer? I do have a farmer, yeah. We have a farmer over here. Yep, she's maxed out in farming now. And our builder is carrying a lot of stuff. Our builder actually is in spec for building. Huh. Well, now she is. I'm not sure why I didn't do that earlier. Let me check these schedules, though. We have 4 people on this schedule and 3 on that. We have 4 tables, so that shouldn't be a problem. There should be enough bathroom time, right? Should we give them just a little bit additional downtime? I mean, sure. It's probably not too bad, right? Just to make sure everyone gets a little trip to the bathroom. Okay, so I'm redesigning this. I am gonna make a little bit of a pit over there, and then at the same time, I really need to start cleaning all of this up. Okie dokie, this looks a lot more tidy, and I just double up on those things just because I can. And then we are... Oh, I don't want to dump any liquid here. I just want to dump the polluted ones over here. So hopefully we can start kind of clearing this out. Most of the normal water bottles have already been dumped in here. So that is, yeah, working like intended. And that means it is now finally time to do the last thing that I want to do in this episode, and that is turning on the manual, or not the manual power, the automatic power. Okay, so let's see how this actually works. We have a couple of coal generators. I figured two of them because, you know, they produce 600 watts of power, and we seem to be able to funnel at least 1,000 through a normal power line. That's a little bit more than what we necessarily need, but we could probably deal with that at some point. Now, over here we have a smart battery. I'm not sure if we need multiple of these, but let's just start with one for the moment. And this one comes with these nice little buttons. So it's going to send us a green signal, which I guess turns everything on, when a battery is less than a 0% charge. So we'll probably need to increase this a little bit. Can we type? Yeah, we can type. So let's say, I don't know, 25%. And then sends a red signal, so stopping the whole generators, I suppose, when the battery is 100% charged. Until it is less than 25%. Oh yeah, so that's the 25% over here. So let's build a little bit of a buffer in here. Let's put this at 95% or so. I'm not sure if these immediately stop working or not, but let's find out. So we are going to need to hook this up to power. I have the power line over here, so that works. And there we go, and there we go. Yeah, that should work. Now we need the automation to actually work. So we need an automation wire, and I guess we just connect this up like so. I'm curious to see if this works like I hope it will. Oh, whoops, I completely forgot to build another bed for my new duplicant, so let's get that fixed ASAP as well. And in the meanwhile, we'll just need to pass on to the next day so we can actually build some stuff. Okay, there we go. So the thing is currently connected to the network. That is working like intended because I have some people running on hamster wheels still. This should now fill up really quickly. There we go. Oh, oh, look at that. And they stopped. That is kind of awesome, I'll be honest. So this is far more efficient than I was doing before. And this should hopefully free up a little bit of my duplicants, you know, action economy, because they don't have to run in hamster wheels anymore. They don't have to resupply a lot of water anymore. So hopefully they can now get around to tidying the place up a little bit. Look at that. We already have some of the oxygen dropping in here, which reminds me, there is one thing I needed to do. We have those deodorizers. We will be producing some polluted oxygen over here. So if I just put in a couple of those over there. And I was actually thinking maybe I just put in a couple of those over here as well. And yes, I know I do have to actually put them on something. But that way any polluted oxygen that comes down here, that floats down here, will be cleaned up. And then the nice oxygen is going to go back up. I am going to deconstruct this little area over here, I think. Why are we not deleting that? Oh, we are actually. Mostly so I can start... Well, actually, I don't need to delete this ladder, do I? Let's not do that, so people can actually reach. But this way, the CO2 that is stuck in here will hopefully start floating down a little bit. We can clean it up with the carbon skimmer over there. And yeah, that should all work very nicely. We actually have a bit of a carbon dioxide pit over here as well. I might want to dig this down at some point, but the reason I'm not doing that, which is actually something I just noticed, is that it's a little bit hot in here. And I don't know the specifics about temperature just yet, but I've heard a lot of people saying, don't let the heat in your base. Well, if that's the case, I might actually want to wall this off. Because, you know, that will keep the heat out, hopefully, maybe, I don't know. But at least we don't need the space at the moment, so I might as well just wall it off. And you know what? I'm gonna add Camille to the team, and she's just gonna be a generalist as well. She's gonna run around supplying stuff, tidying stuff, etc. She has pretty decent skills for that. You look, a lot of tidying speed and a lot of carrying capacity to come with that. She also knows some medicine, which I don't really need at the moment. But, you know, and that is nice because now I have a full house of people to work with. And I think actually having a couple more duplicants is going to be very beneficial in the long run to speed things up. Now, I do need to work on the schedules a little bit because we are going to move you to number 2. And then we have a generalist in each because I also made Frankie a generalist. And when looking at your priorities, let's see, where are you? Camille, you are here. Yeah, you're going to be mostly doing some supplying, storing, and all those things. Maybe even some building and digging as well. Just the general stuff that needs to get done around the place. Let's make sure you focus on that a little bit. And yeah, all in all, this is starting to look like an actual base. Oh man, somehow in all of this, I completely forgot about the fire pole. So yeah, let's get those going ASAP. Those. Oh, I just ran out of stuff. Oh, I need more metal ore. Okay. So, I guess this is all metal ore, right? I guess we're gonna have to dig out some more. Oh, I know where my copper ore went. Apparently I set this to forever production for some reason. That is definitely not what I intended to do. So I'm wondering how much copper do I have? Way more than I need, I guess. Well, okay. Well, I'm stocked up on copper for the time being, at least. I'm not entirely sure how I did that. Probably obvious when you look at the recording, but I did not intend to do that, that's for sure. But anyway, that means we should have enough with mining this out for our fire pole, and I think we're coming near to the end of this episode. Okay, and there we go. The whole fire pole is now in production, or in use, I guess. We are not supplying this thing with coal. I'm not entirely sure why that is. What's its priority setting say? It should be working. I don't know, but we have plenty of power for the moment to work with. Yeah, everything is working like intended. We are producing some polluted oxygen over here, but that's getting filtered, so that's working very nicely. I'm not entirely sure why I had a problem down here with the CO2. The CO2 was just not getting to the actual skimmer. It was getting stuck up here for some reason. So I've now hopefully improved the airflow a little bit, so it can actually start moving around again. It might actually be the polluted oxygen being produced here that's kind of messing this up. I don't know. But I'm cleaning a little bit more of this out, so it's easier for the actual oxygen to reach. Or the CO2, I should say. And then that should be taken care of. Now, for the next episode, I think we're going to be expanding north a little bit. Or, yeah, that might be it. I want to do some wrangling for the hatches. I'm also thinking about maybe we should try breeding some fish. I'm not entirely sure about that yet. We'll figure it out in the next episode, but I think by now I've caught up to where I left off in my previous trial run. But this base is looking a lot more organized than that one did, so I'm really happy about that. Let me know in the comments if you have a suggestion where to take this next, and remember that if you want to get early access to these episodes, become a member of the channel. It's a nice little way to support me, and you know, you get first say on what to do next, so that's that. Anyway, if you are still here, you are awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.